Hello, Rakan.
Hello, Andrew. How are you?
How are you today? Where are you based now? Where are you dialing in from?
In Amman, Jordan.
Excellent. Well, we really do have an international speaker base today with you in Jordan, Brian in New York, Blanca in Geneva. I think we're going to cover all the continents. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, we're just going to let things load up. I see that we have at least 20 people in the room, so I'll just get started and welcome everyone to our open discussion with Tarjama. We'll be discussing how Tarjama transformed its entire customer journey and internal operations to enable automation and scalability. They use their T-portal and breaking the walls between different siloed departments, creating information flows and cooperation. I'd like to discover how they boosted their operational efficiency by at least 60%. We'll also dive into the benefits of their solution environment and how its integrations and their integrations and scalable capabilities. So, hello, Rakan. You're the head of products at Tarjama. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, and for people who are not familiar with Tarjama, a little bit about Tarjama.
Absolutely. So my name is Rakan Hassan. I'm playing a dual role. I'm the head of products and integrations at Tarjama, and I'm currently as well the CEO, COO, and co-founder of Ureed.com, which is a freelance marketplace in the MENA region. So Tarjama is an international LSP. It's a tech-enabled LSP and language service provider. It offers a multitude of services. Our biggest clientele and client base is situated between GCC and the MENA region, but we have been able to serve global clientele as well. I've been in the company for about, say, 7 years. When we were quite a smaller team, when we first started, I was employee, I believe, number 12, if I wasn't mistaken. And when we first started, it was a startup rather than an LSP, which is today that exists in multiple countries with a staff of over 150 individuals. My role basically morphed with Tarjama, and it grew as the company as well grew. So I started in operations and project management, did a stint afterwards in setting up a department in vendor management and talent acquisition, did a stint as well as the operations director, and then eventually I was the co-founder of Ureed and served as the chief operating officer, and now I'm helping also Tarjama as the head of products. Ureed is, by the way, a subsidiary of the Tarjama group. And I'm able today to use that experience that I've gained with the company as it grew to understand exactly what we need to do, and eventually use tech into becoming a tech-enabled LSP rather than the traditional methods, and basically growing the company as we go from stage to stage.
Well, that's a truly impressive CV, and so for the audience listening, this is an open forum, and you can ask questions at any time. You can do this by writing your questions in the chat, or join us on screen if you like by clicking the blue button and ask to share your audio and video. Now we will restart the conference at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time sharp, so keep out for alerts, and I'll need to leave just before this. But as you just heard from Rakan's CV, there's questions to be asked about entrepreneurship and particularly on the technology side. I mean, we've heard a lot of our speakers today talk about the need, for growth and using technology to automate for efficiency and cost savings, but also revenue generation and growth. Can you describe, the situation at Tarjama in these early days when when this process was manual and slow? Really, I think the question is why did you decide to digitize the client workflow?
Excellent question. It came out of a need, really. As we grew as a company, Tarjama today, where it stands, it's basically experiencing the hockey stick exponential growth. And to be able to accommodate to that growth, we had to think outside of the box, let's say. Doing things traditionally can only allow you to grow and scale to the limit of how many individuals are in the company. So it got to the point where we've realized that we are able to bring in business. Our name is associated with being a premium contender in the local market and globally as well. And to be able to attract the future opportunities that we're constantly facing, we've realized that we had to build in automation that allows the scalability. And I always like to mention it as an example of a juggler. Let's say that you're juggling 2 balls. It's quite easy. Anyone can actually do it. But if you're juggling 3, it requires a level of different skill set. If you're juggling 4, then that's a challenge. 5, 6, and 7, and then you're bound to have balls dropping. So what we've realized is this eventually will come if we don't include tech within the way that we currently work. So that was the main aspect of why we did things, and we started doing things as we progressed. So the full digitization of the client journey was a recent effort that we did, but before that we did a tool or a product that we named Cleverso, which is our own built in-house TMS system. We also did an MT model that is built in-house, and later on spun that into its own actual product, which we now refer to as AMT. So it's need-to-need basis. So we started with the core of what we currently do, and that was basically rather than rely on a third party, we had to make sure that the core of what we do is within our control. We control our data, we control our own products as well. So we first started with Cleverso, and then that morphed into how do we digitize the entire journey? Like we sorted one problem out, and a specific department like operations and the linguistic department. But what about the other services? What about the other team members? We had to figure out a way where we customized a complete CRM solution for our sales and BD team. We had to figure out a way where we interact with our clients, and this is where T-Portal came into play. But how do we process those orders for clients, and where do we have a repository where everything is there and our own source of truth as a company? And that is the invention of basically T-Staff. I have actually a slide that I put together. It explains it much better than I am, and I'll be able to show you.
That would be great. A picture is worth 1,000 words in time. So please, if you could share that, just click on the share screen at the bottom. Yeah. I think that would be most helpful.
Let's see.
And while this loads and you share this workflow, can you also maybe expand a little bit about some of the challenges of bringing this all together and digitizing this client workflow?
Absolutely. It's just asking me that I have to basically drop and come back to be able to grant it the access.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do it without having to drop and come back.
Let me just check something really quickly, see if I have your slide as well.
Is it possible to drop it on chat?
Let me just see. Yes. Oh, why don't you give that a try and see if... I'm not sure if you can drop files into the chat.
I dropped it, but it opened it. Yeah.
I think unfortunately.
No worries.
Well, from what I took back, you have your TMS and you have your MT and you have this automated workflow. So maybe you could talk that a little bit more about that and what were some of the challenges that as an organization you had to face and overcome?
Absolutely. So as you know, adopting new technology, changing the way that individuals actually work makes it a little bit difficult for tech adoption. I still remember the days when we came up with the idea of having our own TMS system or introducing TMS systems for our linguists and editors and senior quality assurance members. They fought it tooth and nail. They were like, no, I'd rather work with my own tools. I'd rather have my Excel sheets over there, and with nurturing and making sure that they understand the value behind it. If you ask any linguist today in the company if they'd work offline, they'd say, no, I'd rather work on Cleverso. So there is a value behind what we did. And with every step we had to basically, it was like a chess game that we had to play as a product team. We had to sit with every department, their managers and the individuals who actually get to work to clients and speak to clients, or client facing, to understand exactly the nitty gritty details. And then puzzle it all together so that the information flows between the systems, while making sure that every individual maintains the way that they currently work without basically disturbing it quite drastically so that they resist it. And we've seen eventually tech adoption from our team members. It was a tough battle, but technology always wins.
Well, it can be a great facilitator, but it does, it's human nature, I think, to resist some of those adoptions and a little bit of positive change management. But, maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the benefits that have come out. How did this impact the company, and what were some of the positive results?
Absolutely. Like we've run an analysis with our operations team members, because they are the backbone of the company, let's say, from having a handshake to a client all the way down to processing the work and then invoicing it. We've done a measure of previous ways that we used to do things, and we itemized them. And then with the current system and implementation, we've done a benchmark analysis just to make sure what value the products are actually bringing in. And we've realized that 60% of the previous manual work they used to do is now fully automated. From having their own tool to automate things, reach out to clients, prepare quotations, accept work, distribute it, manage the workflow on Cleverso as well. You're able to actually set a template where it initiates the entire thing, splits the files, distributes, you receive it back, and the client gets it on T-Portal, all with a click of a button. So the major impact was on operations, the biggest stakeholder that we had, also the BD team, customer success, and finance. Those are the biggest winners in the company when it came to the tech and the entire integration.
Well, that would be music to the ears of any business owner or manager. And I think also when you talk about the enablement of these teams, satisfaction would be greatly enhanced at the end. And so if you don't mind me asking, what is the next big thing for the platform then, now that you have these core functionalities in place?
Well, we've recently acquired a company called Screens. It's now part of the Tarjama group. And we're seeing a lot of opportunities in subtitling and dubbing and voiceover and transcription as well. So this is our next biggest thing as a product team, is the integration of this new company, new workflow, and making sure that there is an entire workflow within T-Staff that enables submission and order processing for subtitling requests. And we also have a subtitling model that we built in-house, machine translation model, specifically for subtitling, that we also want to embed within the workflow. So those are the biggest.
Well, that sounds very exciting, because, as we talked about in Florian's presentation and using some of the Netflix data, the media industry has been a massive growth area for a lot of companies. And so maybe can you expand a little bit about maybe some unique challenges as this all relates to the Middle East and the markets you serve?
It's mainly on localization. So our biggest let's say, not challenge, but our biggest ask from our clients is to make sure, like, for example, we were responsible for translating Game of Thrones and the new show, which is House of Dragons, if I'm not mistaken. So that was one of the major series that we had to work on and subtitle. And you need to make sure that it's appropriate for the audience, make sure that the translation for such and the subtitling effort that we had to do makes sure that it conveys the right message and makes sure that the quality of someone reading this rather than understanding the actual language makes sure that they are on par with someone who listens to the original language of that show or series. So our biggest challenge was making sure that our team internally are experts when it comes to specific domains in the subtitling industry. And this is what enabled us to actually achieve that.
So my last question before we go is, what is the use case for AIMT, the business case, and how are you using it at Translate at Tarjama.com, this new service that you launched online?
So it was a model for us, a machine translation model built in-house and integrated with Cleverso. So our own TMS, we had our own MT engine that we made use of. And we also ran a survey there, and we've done some testing just to check how much of the actual segments require no post-editing at all. And we've realized that it's above 40%, sometimes 60%, depending on the task and the work that's being done there. So as value, it's proving to be quite substantial when it comes to this. It increased a lot of the capacity internally for us. And the team basically grew to love it, and were able to drastically drop down the amount of effort they had to do in post-editing. So our MTPE improved. There is, of course, the human layer afterwards. And what we've done is we saw the enormous potential that this is doing internally. And we've realized that why not take this to the world. And this is why we did AMT, and this is its own product. So if you go to translate to Tarjama.com, the engine that we have and the model is business oriented. Of course, it still requires a human layer afterwards, but it can give you great quality for that specific domain that we still, it allows you to also upload documents, by the way. So it's not only text. And we can also get it reviewed internally if that is a document that is going to be sent out rather than for internal purposes.
No, I think it's a very interesting product. And so for our audience listening today, it's also a fantastic evolution when you think about the transformation of the internal workflow process and then productizing that and making that a new business generating opportunity on top of that. So really, I think Tarjama is a fantastic company to watch and to take lessons from. Rakan, thank you very much for speaking with me today and for sharing Tarjama's growth progression and some of its plans that are coming in the immediate future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Okay. And thanks for the audience as well.
No, my pleasure. And so I'm going to return to the main stage. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.